Cryptilians and crypto crackheads and new viewers, welcome back to the cosasverdes altcoin crypto trading show. Returning viewers, go ahead and hit like for me. And new viewers, before you do that, here's what this channel is about. So you're probably watching a bunch of news and fundamental-based YouTube videos in regards to crypto projects, right? So what this channel does is it helps you better understand statistical probabilities when you're clicking around with your money. So instead of listening to a video and saying, oh, I need some of that, you can identify, ooh, probably not a good time, or yes, this is a good entry, and when would I take profits and how much? It gives you a better idea of that specifically, so it'll help you be more profitable in your crypto journey. So if that sounds good by the end of the video, go ahead and hit subscribe and let me know if you want to be a cryptilian or a crypto crackhead. So everybody, especially returning viewers, go ahead and smash that like for me, help the algo. It'll help me continue producing content for you. So with all that out of the way, let's get going. This is a BEPRO, PDEX, and POLK video. So we're going to start off with BEPRO on the BTC pairing, very specifically. And before I get going on any of these three or any altcoin videos that are close to the middle of September 2021, any breakout or anything that you're looking for on a coin that you're following that is not A, going against Bitcoin, so going up while Bitcoin is not going up, right? And B, is in some type of posturing where you think it might break out and make a move. Okay, so in those types of situations, you're probably not going to get that move until specifically Bitcoin closes a couple of daily candles above the daily 10 EMA. And so if that doesn't make sense to you, you probably need to start watching my Bitcoin and Ethereum and Cardano overall market overview types of videos, and you need to check out my library section. It's a free content. You would want to look for how to set up your chart, and or what are EMAs, and get to know that lingo, because it's going to help you drastically. Very, very simple indicators. They're very easy to use. So anyway, so checking out Bitcoin here really quickly to give you an idea is you can take off all the EMAs, keep the 10, which on my chart is red, and price is under it right now. I'm probably going to use it as an obstacle. So if Bitcoin hasn't closed a couple of candles, full daily candles close, and then the next one starts above that line, your breakouts likelihood of happening is not the greatest. Okay, so just know that my analysis for the near future is going to be based on Bitcoin daily closures above the 10 EMA. All right, so let's go back to BPRO versus Bitcoin specifically. That's versus not Bitcoin. All right. So in regard to BPRO, this honestly is the chart to be watching. So this is the full on price history of BPRO versus Bitcoin. You have all of these wicks up, creating a very, very strong horizontal of support. Where has BPRO gone to test that? Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. Right at the same line. So why is that? Because BPRO spent how long creating that and using that as resistance? 230 days, but really it used it as resistance here too. So over a year, that was resistance. So if you fly past something like that, right? Fly past it. That was huge resistance, and you've never tested it as support. Guess what the heck's going to happen? You're going to come back down. No matter how high you go, the likelihood of you coming back down to test that is extremely high. So, example in Bitcoin, Bitcoin went on a screamer from about 3,200 to 14,000 back in 2019. All right, after its capitulation in January 2019. So this run right here, this whole run, and so the same thing. Bitcoin over a long period of time proved it as, in this case, actually support, but previous support becomes future resistance. So you could essentially use this green line as, hey, this is a resistance point, and you really need to prove that as support at some time. So what did Bitcoin do? Nope, it just flew right past it. And guess what ultimately happened? Extend this line, came back down, and played with it quite a bit more. Wanted to play with it up here a little bit, but it stayed a little shy. But anyway, it came back down, kind of the point. And you can see the first attempt to get above. Look at this big, long red wick. It tried to do that, but that was simply not enough to say, hey, I'm going to use this as support. I'm proving this as support. So The same thing in terms of BEPRO. That is roughly what you have going on in the grand scheme of things. It's if you want a very simple explanation of its current price action and why it's had to hang out so long, you can essentially take that explanation right there and run with it pretty hard. And you can apply that to a lot of price action that you see in the future as well. It's just how crypto ends up moving. All right, so in addition to that, in the big scheme of things, this white line that was previous resistance now needs to become future support. How many times? How long has it been tested? So previously it was 400 something days of resistance. Okay, 153 days. That should be enough. All right. So when is BEPRO gonna scream up? Right? When are you gonna see that breakout? I think it's when you get over this line. So you have an ascending line right here from this support, this support, this support, 3 times support going back how many days? 300 days, almost a year. It's now resistance. So BEPRO is going to use this as resistance, break through, use it as support, and then go on a run. That's probably what's going to happen, if I had to guess. And when you start seeing BEPRO get into the 3 cent mark, is probably when you're going to be about here, if I had to guess. All right. So some people might think, oh, 2 cents is the breakout, and you might be at 2 cents about right here before you come test support. I wouldn't call that a big breakout. I would say that's getting back to the middle, roughly the middle of the range, even on the US dollar chart. And so when you're going to see, all-time highs broken, it might be somewhere in this region after it bounces off and uses this as support. So using primarily for now the BEPRO BTC chart might be in your best interest until this is proved. Not only you break it, price breaks it, but it's proved as support. And then staring at the USDT chart or versus the dollar or tether, that would probably come into play and be more strategic at that time. All right. So let's just take a quick look at the BEPRO dollar chart. So what does that mean for the BEPRO dollar chart? Well, actually, you got something. Honestly, it might do something similar on this because you have the same type of line. But you can see that this line was not support, support, and support. It was support, support, and resistance. So BEPRO is probably going to come up, come above, test it as support, and then get going. And actually, you know what? That's more than all-time high breakouts. All right, so what? So the BTC chart's going to lead. So on the BTC chart, that equivalent line is going to be passed first, and that will bring BEPRO on the dollar chart up to this line when it's on the other chart already breaking above it. So the BTC chart will probably be 4 weeks ahead, maybe 6 weeks ahead of this chart, in which on the other chart, so even though I'm on the dollar chart right now, let me get rid of all this stuff right here. So BEPRO versus Bitcoin, it'll do something like this, here, and that. And then as this is happening, the dollar chart, which we're on now, will be 4 to 6 weeks behind that because they're different charts, right? And so that's roughly how it's going to play out. So using the BTC chart will give you the lead and the heads up on when these moves are going to happen before they happen on the dollar chart. Does that make sense? All right. Raise your hand if that doesn't make sense, or leave me a comment below. Like, why? Why is that so? Maybe I can explain it in another video, but you have to let me know, a few of you, that it didn't quite make sense the way I'm explaining it. So that's so let's take a look real quick at price action on the 12-hour chart to get more of a feel here. So BEPRO is going to hang between this origin line and that origin line for a little bit. Might come all the way up to here, 2.6 cents. Perhaps not that soon, or what might happen is these two origin lines get filled out a little bit more. You break above, use it as support, use that as resistance, fill this out, and then approach this line and then get above, and then use it as support, and then break all-time highs. And honestly, this might be happening as soon as November. I think BEPRO has put in enough time correcting and consolidating and you're getting a cup and handle looking formation. BEPRO's honestly not looking too bad. Now, this totally depends on Bitcoin, leading up. So if Bitcoin stays flat and keeps playing around in the 40s and under 51, BEPRO might stay between these two lines and not break out above this upper line here. So again, a lot of this price action, especially here and on, so from this point on, will depend on Bitcoin closing daily candles continuously or regularly above the daily 10 EMA, which would mean Bitcoin is getting up into the 50s and mid 50s, which will probably be necessary if BEPRO is going to hit 2.8 to 3 cents. So this is the bullish case of Bitcoin. Now, a sideways case of Bitcoin, more consolidation without, dipping back down into the mid 30s or anything, but also not breaking much above 51. I mean, BEPRO would probably play between these two lines as the second most probable, depending on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin heads down to the mid 30s, well, BEPRO will probably come back down and potentially test this origin line, or since this origin line was resistance and support previously, it might end up using this as support and only dip down to 0.006. But I would assume BEPRO, if Bitcoin tanked to like 35K, BEPRO would come down and hit under 0.005 to hit that line, and then come right back up into this trading channel where he had a lot of trading activity for quite a while. So that would be a good snag, like a glory hole situation if Bitcoin tanked down into the mid 30s, which is absolutely possible. I think it would be my third most probable for Bitcoin. So those are my three most likely scenarios for general price movement of BEPRO, plus the grand scheme of things, kind of answering questions. Well, why? Well, why is this? Well, that's why. It didn't prove that previous resistance as support, and I had to come back down and do it. It's really that simple. All right, so let's go to. I'm going to save Polk for last. I'm going to say I'm personally getting pretty bullish on Polk. Not financial advice. It's just the chart is, and the Polkasphere in general is just, if I could say anything about, chest pounding coins, and for new viewers, if that doesn't make sense, chest pounding means you root for it like it's your team, even if they're losing and they suck and the manager sucks or whatever. That's your team, you know. I'm in Indiana, so I have some friends who are Browns fans, and football, American football, and they just lose all the time. No matter what, they're chest pounders. So in that regard, I might be becoming that way, getting closer to that with Polkadot in the Polkasphere, Polkadot, Kusama, Moon River, Moonbeam, and a lot of the blockchain businesses that are going to use its platform. Whew, yeah. Honestly, I think the Polkasphere. So perhaps the market cap of Kusama plus Polkadot together. I think those together, so Polkadot plus Kusama, I bet it has a chance of passing Ethereum. So not each individually, but together, passing Ethereum's market cap before Ethereum would pass Bitcoin's market cap. So become bigger than Bitcoin. So the grand flippening that a lot of people are calling. If that ever happened, Ethereum passing Bitcoin, I would say Polkadot plus Kusama would pass Ethereum's market cap. So I'm becoming that fairly bullish on it, but which makes me a little glad to be covering these coins as well, which are also connected to BEPRO and my BEPRO geek community. So PDEX, we have a perfect example of what I was talking about earlier in terms of breakouts and what you could expect for a breakout if Bitcoin's not closing above. This honestly could end up being an exception. It could be. This could break that rule. So you have a pretty huge area of previous resistance that was never proven as support. You just broke down below it, right? So currently it is resistance. And what could happen before Bitcoin breaks out, or not Bitcoin breaks out, before Bitcoin's confidently closing multiple candles above the daily 10 EMA, you might have a breakout above that line, get rejected, then use it as support. And then the real breakout, once Bitcoin is getting hot, then you go up after proving it as support. So if and when, honestly, it looks like when. This looks like it's going to go. Possibly when PDEX breaks out above this line before Bitcoin is getting confident. Again, what's likely going to happen? You're going to come right back down and prove this as support until Bitcoin's ready. So that would be my guess. And then you're going to fall out of this trading channel, but you're going to use this as support. So when you fall out, you just fall onto this floor and you stay all good. And maybe use this lower end as your upper end until a breakout. So assuming Bitcoin takes, it doesn't just start screaming up, right? So under that specific premise, a lot of viewers come on and say, "Oh, but you said, yeah, I said with this premise, and the premise didn't happen, right?" Like, so that's why price didn't move that way, or even close to that way. But under the premise that Bitcoin doesn't fly up soon and doesn't tank soon, rather goes sideways, pretty strong and fairly probable premise. What might happen is you break above, come out, fall out of the trading channel, and instead of keep falling out after falling out of this, you're going to fall onto this floor. So I should expand this box. Again, with Bitcoin moving sideways, something like that, fall out, use it as resistance, keep going sideways, maybe use this horizontal right here as support and slowly keep working your way up. And then by that point, mid-October, Bitcoin might be ready, and then Polk could come back into that trading channel and really start grooving. So that is what I would say for PDEX, based on the premise that Bitcoin moves sideways for a little bit before moving up. And again, that actually might not happen. Bitcoin could tank back into the 30s. I'm not for sure. So if that happens, I would have to change my, my probabilities on how price might move here. But under that premise, honestly, that I might only make one guess. It's kind of locked into a few important areas. I mean, I guess the second most likely is it breaks all the way above here and then uses the bottom of this as support and then falls out of the channel and then dips down, comes back up. It could do something like that. It could go on a decent run actually. Let's see here. Yeah, it that could happen. Um, but if that happens, it's going to have to come back down and use this as support. It'll probably need to because I don't think it's done it. Yeah, it's never done it. So if you see PDEX like breaking all-time highs, I would assume, and if that happens before Bitcoin's getting hot, I would assume that's going to be a failed breakout. You're going to come back down and test this for a short period of time. And unlike BEPRO, like going 230 days trying to do that, I don't think it needs to because it didn't use this as resistance for that long. So yeah, I would say that's the second most probable. And then the third most probable is it might not break this until it's past this trading channel. So it might fall out of the trading channel first and then pop above and use it as resistance. So I would say that would be maybe the second or third most probable there for my top three. So that's what we got for PDEX throughout the next month. All right, Polk, save this for last. All right. So, okay. So I'm, and again, this is not financial advice. My TA on this could be totally off. Okay. With that premise. And I want to be very clear. I do own all three of these assets. So PDEX, Polk, and BEPRO. I don't own a lot of Polk and PDEX, so I'm not gonna like be getting rich and buying a Lambo. If this video were to get other people and viewers bullish on this, but I do own this, right? And I'm planning on holding this till what I would consider the end of the bull run, and I might 20 bag along the way, something like that, right? So for new viewers, I don't just dump on my viewers who might end up purchasing this. Anyway, these origin lines, okay, what is very typical is the very beginning point, especially a wick, that creates the top origin line, and coins just love coming up and tagging that at some point, right? But how fast depends. But something like mover, for an example. So this is all a premise for what I'm about to say, right? So I'm still in premise mode right here. That's why I'm going to mover. Mover, which is Moon River, which is essentially the Kusama. So as Kusama is to Polkadot, Moon River is to Moonbeam. I believe that is an exactly precise, analogy there. So Moon River, what it did was, so this candle closure here, I thought that during this run, all right, or actually no, the wick. I said the wick. Yeah, this wick here would create a top end origin line for this very young asset. So origin lines here probably aren't going to hold up. It's too young. But I kind of knew that taking profits on this line, because I was buying about here on this line, would be a good idea. And guess what happened? Boom. And I did. I even let my community know, and I showed them, some of the trades on that to show that I sold about 475 or 472 right at the line. And then I bought back a little early, but I still bought. I have more mover because I made that trade, right? So just like that happened, going back to Polk here. Okay, so and I've added origin lines, so just kind of forget that these two. As of now, that is the top origin line, right? Okay, so going back to Polk, I want to show you. So this is why I'm bullish on it. Like, ooh, um, and in addition to how well Polkadot is probably about getting ready to start moving here, like I almost think Polkadot is going to take the thunder from Solana now that Solana went on a run, and I think it's going to do nothing but help, the Polka sphere. But look, so see that same wick early in price history? Watch from current price, let's say going out to January 1st. That's an 88x move from current price, 88x to the beginning of the new year. Now, if the bull run takes longer than a 4-year cycle, which I'm safely assuming, let's say Polk doesn't go on a run and go parabolic with a lot of the other market at the end of a market cycle. If that happens, that's a fairly safe premise, but it's not 100% safe, right? So this line might not ever be hit. But let's say the bull run goes till late March, early April, and it hits that line. That'd be 140, 141x. So 14,000% increase is 141x. And I simply think that's how price moves. I mean, it just does it over and over with a bunch of assets. And but this would require Polkadot to be getting hot, Polkadot and Kusama, which I think is going to happen, especially near the end of a bull run. So that's the grand scheme of things. The charts are saying, "Wow, be bullish on this." This has a lot of room to the upside, folks. Again, this is not financial advice. I'm not trying to get you to ape into this. I do own this asset. I want to be very, very, very clear, and so does a lot of my community. For new viewers, even though most of you watching are returning viewers, and a lot of you have talked to me on the voice chats and everything recently about this. So, but for those new viewers, just remember what I'm saying here. All right, so I drew this projection thinking that this is way too high of a slope to form a higher low. I didn't think this higher low or whatever pump would happen from it. I didn't think that would be sustained simply because that's too aggressive of the line. Typically, you get like a 45-degree angle where higher lows happen, right? And then before a pump, and then you start forming a new line roughly at the same angle. And so I drew this projection, and honestly, did it actually come into it? I think it just bounced off of it. You gotta be kidding me. I swear I drew this before these wicks happened. Wow. Okay, well, it technically didn't go in, so I was wrong. I just formed a great area of support. Hmm, that is close enough. Let's see, how long has this been consolidating under this line? 40. You might get a mirror image of this after this pops up, and then it would go into this line. I still think it's going to go into this projection. So I would say Polk will do either something like this, go into the projection, then come up, do it again, and then start breaking out of this local high. But in general, until Bitcoin starts getting hot, I think Polk's going to play around this area here. It's going to fill out the zone between 55 cents and 36 cents. And what could happen during that time is a guess that I'm not really comfortable making in terms of which one's more probable is if it fills out this area mostly under or over this line. I'm not for sure. But what I think is less likely is that it plays both over and under. So what could happen is it could be equal. It plays under, hits there, goes above, and fills out this zone both in an under over fashion instead of I'm volatile and filling this out all at once. I don't think that'll happen. But I'm not for sure if it's going to come above first and then, potentially drop back below, come back in here, or just fill out the top end. That could happen as well. So I would probably draw those horizontal lines if you're following this asset. One horizontal at about 55.60 and another one at 36.30. It's probably going to stay in there until Bitcoin gets warm. And if you want to see what that might look like, it could move something similar to this. But I want to flip this. Oh, it's not letting me flip it. Come on. Oh, not that way. Mirrored is up and down. So flipped. Okay. Click the word. All right. There we go. Yeah, it might do something like a mirror image. And then come into this projection, and then when Bitcoin gets hot, then it starts breaking above. It might be about what happens. So again, that's what I got for you here. If you're new and you like what you saw, please take a quick second, hit like, and returning viewers, go ahead and hit subscribe for me. Again, this is going to help me, keep you on top of these coins so you have a better idea of when to hit buy and sell. Oh, I left the sign on the whole time. Sorry. Hopefully that wasn't too annoying. But go ahead and do that for me, and we're going to see y'all next time.